Now, if you like lasagna, I think you're going to like this one. This is my own homemade lasagna. I make the noodles myself. It takes a little bit of time, but oh, so worth the effort. Check this out. Now, the biggest part of making my lasagna is the actual noodles. This is semolina flour. I'm trying to make more than one as I go along, so the measurements may not be exact for what you need for the one pan, but this is 4-ish cups of flour. I say 4-ish because, as you can see, I'm using my measuring mug, but it's also spilling out all over. So it probably works out to about 4.5 cups. And that's it for what I had. This is going to make me 2 good-sized lasagnas, or I make the smaller ones so they're kind of nice and meals for 2-ish. And you can see with the flour, I've made a little bowl for the next ingredient. So to that, we have 5 eggs. And really, that's all that's needed. If it's not quite damp enough, I may throw in a little bit of water, but that's it. So you slowly incorporate the eggs into the flour. Just be patient. It's going to take a couple minutes to incorporate all. You just do it a little by little. And eventually you're going to get it to a doughy consistency. And as you see, it looks a little flaky. And that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. I added one more egg because it wasn't quite there. And, you know, making dough is kind of an art. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I still haven't quite got it. I just don't do it enough. You need the right consistency, and I think I kind of got it this time. Sometimes it's a little too wet, so the dough gets sticky. Sometimes it's just too dry. So you know it's okay when all the flour sticks together and you end up with kind of dough balls like that, right? So there's no dough in the bottom of the bowl. Well, what I'm doing now is I'm ripping it apart into usable size balls. We're going to make pasta sheets out of it. And those look about the right size. They should get us between 1.5 sheets and 2 for each dough ball. Let's cover this up. Set it aside. Bring out the artillery. That is my pasta maker. Now, old school is you just do it by hand. I can't be bothered. I have a motor that goes with it and it just keeps it spinning for me. Makes my job of making pasta so much easier. So we're going to hook this all up. But before we do, I need some wax paper to put the pasta noodles on. I want to make sure I have more than enough, which I miscounted on how much I was making. So I did have more than enough. We'll put that aside for now. Now the trick here is each sheet of pasta is going to go on the wax paper so it doesn't stick to whatever, the table or whatever. Well, here's our machine all ready to rock and roll. I've got it on the widest setting. So we take our pasta dough and mush it around so that we can get it through the rollers. Doesn't have to be super small, but as you can see, then I had to redo everything because I didn't even have it set up properly. Live and learn. So anyway, machine's on, dough's ready to go, and you just feed it through and it kind of rolls itself out into a little piece of dough like that. You fold it over a couple times and run it through a couple times, and it gets smoother and smoother. It's kind of fun. It can be a pain in the ass, especially when you're doing as much as I am. So, you know, once I get this out of the way, putting the lasagna together is nothing. But this is fun to do. I think it's really cool. There's 6 positions on the roller. I don't use the last one, which is the thinnest, because what I found, at least early on, was when I boiled the noodles up, they literally fell apart on me. So I just go to the second last one. The noodles are a little thicker, but I like them that way. So once you've rolled it out enough times and it looks fairly straight, I just kind of lay it on carefully. Of course, this is the first one, so it's not going to be perfect. I get better as time goes on. And then we're going to cut it out into a pasta sheet. And it's really cool because, you know, you can go to the grocery store and you know what they look like. One of those sheets, if it was on the thinnest setting, would be more than enough to cover the pan I'm using. You'll see that a little later on. So look, one ball of dough gets me a couple sheets. And then when we're done, there you go. I think I figured out there's about 26 sheets I got. Let's move these out of the way and get a pot of water boiling. All right, so into a pan, a little bit of water, some ground beef, cook it down. Yummy. That looks just about right. Oh, and I've also got a pot for the pasta on to boil too, right beside it. There's our water boiled. Our pasta goes in. We're going to let that come back up to a boil, let it cook for about 10-15 minutes or so. Drain it into a strainer and immediately run cold water on it because I don't like my fingers being burnt with boiling water. And it's just easier to handle. Back into our pot, and we put some water on it so that way it's not into a sticky ball when I actually go to use it. I also boiled another pot, so that's the noodles out of that pot too. So to our ground beef, I put a little bit of spaghetti sauce in. Nothing fancy. I haven't gotten to the point where I make my own sauce and cheese. We'll do that down the road. The rest of the sauce we'll dump into a bowl because I'm going to use that as kind of a moisturizer. 2 jars is what I'm going to use. And I will use most of them for what I'm making. Next bowl, mozzarella. 1 full bag. And that's somewhere between a pound and a pound and a half. And last ingredient is cottage cheese. Now you could use ricotta. My mom always used cottage cheese. I had heard of ricotta but never really seen it. So I've always incorporated that in and it works just fine. So here's the pan we're making the lasagna in. We've got all our ingredients ready to go. And let's make us some lasagna. Assembly. There's some tomato sauce on the bottom of the pan. Mostly so that the bottom layer of pasta, you know, doesn't burn, which sucks. We just spread it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it's there, it'll all mush around as it's baking. So I've grabbed my first layer of pasta. Now you can see here, see how one sheet just about fits? I had to put a little strip in there. Had I gone to the last level, like I said, that would cover the entire bottom. Now we can make it work. Layer number 1. That is tomato sauce and cheese. And we repeat. Layer number 2. See, some of them almost fit. Tomato sauce and some of our ground beef. Three, tomato sauce, cheese. 4, tomato sauce and cottage cheese. This is where we use, well, I think I put in about 3/4 of a cup on this layer. Tomato sauce and cheese, because you gotta have lots of cheese. One more layer, tomato sauce, ground beef. Next layer, tomato sauce, cheese. One more layer, tomato sauce, cheese, a little bit of cottage cheese because we're going to use it up. I can't go any more layers. The rest of the ground beef that we had. And our last layer, a little bit of tomato sauce on top and some Parmesan. And we're good to go in the oven. And here it is, out of the oven, all nice and bubbly and warm and gooey and yummy. There you have it. My own homemade lasagna. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, another great recipe. I hope you'll give it a try. Leave me a comment below, one way or the other. Listen, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell because that'll tell you the next time I upload a video. Feel free to share this in any of my other videos. And thanks for stopping by and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.